So I took a little break from building and went away for a few weeks. And upon my return here in early June, got quite a jungle going on. Everything's very lush. So let's get back to it. Just been playing with this arrangement just to get the boat situated the way I want. This is definitely not final, but I jacked the bow up a bit, put some blocks in the center under the bow. And what this did is it brought the stern down so that the flat part of the aft end of the boat, which is roughly half of the length of the boat, is all sitting on these bunks. And that's how I want it to sit. That's how it should sit. It's nice and flat here. It should totally sit all the way to the transom. And then I cranked it forward until the bunk is right at the edge. There's no reason to have it further forward than that or further aft than that. Maximum support. This is obviously not the final configuration because I need supports up here at the bow. So what I need to do is, I think, modify these bunks up here. These are adjusted up as high as they go, and these other bunks are down as low as they can go. So I think if they come out a little bit because of the angle of this support that they're on, they will get higher, and that's good. But they're still not going to touch the boat. And I have to work on this too because I don't really think it needs to be further forward than the end of those bunks. And the way this is configured, I can't move this pedestal aft. So right now it's not resting on the roller. They must have an extension or something. I'll figure something out so that this will work. So yeah, I could move it like an inch. That's not going to do enough for me. I took this roller off because I'm going to make a modification to it. But we're a few inches short of where I want this to be, which should be right up against the boat like this. And I can't adjust it. So what's a person to do? If I was a metal fabricator, I'd obviously make a new piece out of metal. I'm not, but I am a fiberglass fabricator. I bought these two pieces of G10 1/4-inch fiberglass, 3 inches by 2 feet long, which is a little bit bigger than this. So what I'm going to do is reform this piece out of my fiberglass and make exactly what I need. I was going to leave it the way it comes from the factory with this nice glossy surface, but this will degrade over time if exposed to UV, so I think it should be painted. So my first step's actually going to be to sand this down so that I can paint it later. If you're not familiar with this stuff, it's strong. There are zero strength issues with this in terms of using it instead of this metal. So this is where we ended up. I've built the end of the bracket to support the rollers, and I've left it long, and I've just arranged it above the bow eye here so that the strap can come through underneath and lead it on. And we're just going to let this kind of percolate overnight or until the next time I work on it and see what I think. And yes, I know when I measured up for this bow eye, I didn't factor in the sweep of the bottom. So the bow eye is a little higher than I probably should have had. But that said, I didn't want it way down, and this is where it is. So, it makes sense in almost all ways, except for loading on this trailer. So this is up a little higher than I planned, but that's okay. This bracket will do the trick. It's the next morning, and I got to looking at this a little bit, and I see there is potentially an adjustment on this, the way this winch stand is on the pedestal, that might move it closer to the boat and possibly angled up more. I mean, this will work, but it's a little more of an uphill push on that. I'd rather that strain, such as it is, I mean, it's just kind of pulling the boat tightly against it, but I'd rather that it be as in line as possible. It's not going to be perfect not to get that roller above the ring. So I'm going to try that, take this off, and I'm going to try adjusting that winch stand a little bit, see if any of that makes it a little better. So I tilted this winch stand so that it angles up a little bit more, and that's just by moving these two bolts from these holes to the back holes. There's still an up angle on that, but that's just how it's going to be, and I'm okay with that. This gives me the opportunity for possibly one more bolt through a little further, just to add a little extra. But there's 2 bolts on each side that I'll mark and drill through, and then I can bolt this in place. I'll trim the end off somewhere that makes sense. But I think I'm okay with this. Leads the strap right through under the roller, and the boat is positioned where I want it, where the aft end is right at the end of the trailer, or the end of the bunks, I mean. And the boat is sitting where it should on the trailer. I've got it temporarily blocked up here at the bow, pending some adjustments on those forward bunks. I had to order some new brackets for those, which are coming soon, and that'll allow me to raise those up a few more inches and contact the bottom. So I think this is pretty much a done deal once I do the final trimming and bolt it in place. So let's get to that. So here are the finished pieces for my bow roller. Found a can of primer and a can of black spray paint. So I decided to just go ahead, get some paint on them now before I install it. Got some spray primer on here, and I'll just let that cook in the sun here for a while. And then when that's dry enough, I'll come in and spray them black, just like the Rolling Stones. So a little bit later, I've done 2 coats of a gloss black. It's just something I had. I just wanted some protection over this G10. And while I'm not really worried about it degrading with UV, UV does affect epoxy, so no reason to leave it bare. So now it's got paint on both sides. When this is dry enough, I'll reinstall this on the trailer for good. So here's the final result on this bow roller modification. Works out pretty well. I've minimized the up angle on this by changing the angle on this winch stand. And the strap runs right through to the eye. And I've got the original 2 bolts through, the original holes. And I left this long so that I could install another bolt somewhere down near the end just to sort of help with the angle of this. I can put one anywhere I want in here. So I just left this at full length. And I think that came out pretty well. I'm happy with it. I don't see why that isn't effective. So here's the situation at the beginning. I'm under the boat. This is the bow that way. And we've got these 2 bunks here in this, near the center line. There's the center line skiffener right there. And we've got like 5 or 6 inches between the bunk and the hull at the aft end, and 2 or 3 inches at the forward end. So my fix, I hope, is going to be to use these brackets. These are bunk brackets. Got 6-inch and 8-inch. They have several holes that should go where that bolt is. And then they'll lag to the bottom of the bunk board just like that. At least that's what I'm expecting. So the first thing to do is to get these bunk boards off the top. And I also want to slide these vertical brackets outboard a bit. A little bit further from the center line for better support. Closer to this skiffener, further from the center one. So I'm not sure exactly where. A couple few inches out. That'll also bring these a little closer to the hull because the structural members to which they're bolted are angled. So the further out they go, the higher they become. And I don't see any downside to having these be further out, so I'll probably slide them out a good bit. So let's get going on this. I have to get some more tools. So I've got the bunks unattached with that one bolt, and I've just loosened these verticals and moved them out about 8 inches. I used one of these because I didn't have a tape measure on me, and that's gonna make these land almost like 3/4 of the way or half or 3/4 of the way between these two skiffeners. These are still loose because they'll adjust up and down, but I made a mark at the edge where I want to have them. These new brackets have a slightly different shape and they're a little thicker material. So I have to line up the aft edge or the inside edge with where the inside edge of the existing bracket is so that they'll fit between those verticals. So when I take off the small bracket, I just note it's pretty easy to see because there's a depression in the carpet. There's a pretty clear line depression in the carpet where that bracket was. So it's pretty straightforward to line this up with that. So when I take that off, I'll just line the new bracket up with the flush with that spot, which means the flange moves out a little bit, but that's fine. There's still plenty of bunk there. To help me make sure I can raise these new bunks so that the hull is well supported on them at the height I want, I added a 3/8 inch shim on these blocks. And that just raised the bow up a little bit more so I can press these up tight to the boat by hand from underneath and tighten the bolts. And then when I lower it, it'll be sitting nicely on those bunks. So this is how things have ended up. My extra long brackets in place. And I moved all of these verticals out about 8 inches. So that brings the bunk to here. Right now the bow of the boat is a little high because I put some extra blocking up there. So when I get out from under here, I'll lower that and we'll see how it sits on these bunks. There may be a further adjustment, but it's sitting nicely on these forward bunks on both ends. In the middle hole on both brackets. These brackets are 2 inches shorter than the aft ones, and there's plenty of adjustment on these. So I've got the blocks out, so there's no support up there anymore. All the support starts here on these two short bunks. I might look at something for up here, just to eliminate the bounce factor. But these bunks are in full contact along their length. They could maybe go in a touch. This one here, this one's a little cockeyed. There's more room at the aft end. And now I need to go and check the torque on all of these fasteners that I changed, where they're all supposed to be. I have no idea if I've over-tightened or under-tightened. So that's a task for one of the days ahead. I'm not going to do it right at the moment. So when all is said and done, here's where the boat ended up on the trailer. Nice and flat on the aft bunks, full support, right at the edge of the transom. And up here at the forward end, it's got good support underneath from those two bunks underneath that I modified. I'm still debating a support up forward here, but I haven't found something that'll fit yet. It's pretty tall, and I don't know that it really needs it. Feeling good about how the boat is now. When it's strapped down, I don't think it's going to move. It feels solid when I shake it. There's a little. The only bounce is really in the trailer. I can't bounce it up and down, so I think I'm going to forgo any further support. And then I modified the bow roller with the new piece painted black so that I could put the roller where I needed to put it. The one that came with the trailer was not long enough and not adjustable enough to ever meet the boat, since I can't really adjust the pedestal more than an inch or so. So I made that out of G10, as you saw. So that's how she sits. It's basically level on the trailer. You know, I don't know if the boat's technically level right now. I haven't looked, but it would be easy to level. She's sitting flat and level on the trailer, so that's what matters. So that's the net total of all the adjustments and such that I made. There's a view from the bow and a view from the stern.